Well, good morning again, YouTube. I'm going to finish up this linkage here. I got to drill a bolt right in here and tap it into the case so I can lock this rotating plate. And I need to make another one over here with like an L bracket on it that I can rotate around and lock that cable into the bracket. So I'll get these marked and we'll get started on it. Well, there's Mr. Bracket's done. This one here has got I drilled a hole and tapped it. It's got a lock bolt there. You can move it around, but when you tighten them up, it ain't going nowhere. I put a little flip over catch on this. I tapered it a little right here so it'll fit that hole. It's still movable, but moving up and down, it's not moving that arm at all. And it's real solid. You could jump on that thing. Like I said, that's made out of a piece of bed spring, so it ain't going anywhere. And that'll end my shifter situation. Got everything all reversed here and put in the way it should be. So it ought to be plenty good. Oh yeah, that feels nice. Nice and crisp. And up here is nice and crisp. That's all good. So I can put the rest of my Roma Fufus back on it. I'll have to make a mount for the shifter itself, but the cable looks pretty good. It's going around like it should, coming back up, and it's pretty straight. There's not any sharp curves in it, so I think that's good enough for my shifter. Well, there's that super clean. I was fooling around with my air compressor here and I thought the lid was gone. It turned out just a cover. I tried to pour oil in it. I got it all down the side of the thing. Anyway, I got it full and I kind of wiped it off. And so I'm just going to spray this down here. I don't know what kind of a test this would be, but I'm just spraying it real good. And I've got some, I wiped it here where the tank was before. And I'm gonna just let this set here a minute, and hopefully it'll clean up some of this oil. I've got a lot of dust on here. I probably weld, so since this is a product demonstration, let's just whack it all. Hopefully it'll clean off some of this. Then I'm trying to make my air compressor come pretty or anything like that. I'm just seeing if take this oil off. I mean, it's oil where I just poured it all down the side. So, and it picks up Bondo dust and everything else. So I'm going to fire it up and then I'll blow it off with air and we'll see what it looks like. Well, I hit it with air and it didn't seem to be really doing too great of a job. Not just running off, but Of course, like I said, it's got Bondo dust and everything else on it. So I've got some water in a brush here. I'm going to brush it down with water first and then try to blow it off there. Well, that was the ticket. Cleaned it up super good. I just hit it with some water, blew it off, and then wiped it with an old dirty rag. And it took all that oil and grease right off there. So I don't know if this is a recommended use, but definitely was oily, so it worked good. Got it all off. Now with no oil on it, maybe the dust won't stick to it so bad. Well, I routed my gas line. I took it straight across here and I went down, and right behind my battery tray, I turned the lights off in here, but it's coming out of here, running along the frame, and comes right here all the way up to the front of the car. So I've got it, I used my rubber sticky stuff here and zip ties, and it's all zip tied to the frame real good up here on top and down on the bottom, and it's been wrapped with this rubber stuff. So, and another thing that I did, I really don't know, you can't see it down in there, I'll show you tomorrow, but this thing was about 3/4 of an inch off the bottom of the tank, at least a gallon, maybe more. And so what I did was take a little brass fitting about 3/4 of an inch and drilled it to 1/2 inch so it would fit that tube. Put a little JB weld on it and put it on the bottom. So now the pickup is like, oh, maybe 1/8 of an inch off of the bottom of the tank. So I probably gave myself another gallon of gas, usable gas. Still waiting on a fuel sending unit, and I'm just going to plug the vent, and I'm going to use a rollover for vent. I'm just going to run, I don't know whether it'll go back this way and down, and probably drop it down there by the axle somewhere. I got about 3 feet of this aluminum line. Not much, not even that, a couple feet. But at least I had it. So that answers, I'll use rubber hose for the transmission cooler. But fuel system now is good. I'm just waiting for that new sending unit so I can fix this thing. Well, good morning again, YouTube. Hope you're enjoying this build of this 29 Chrysler. I kind of get disappointed sometimes because it seems like it's taken so long. But there's a lot of work going into making a whole car, and basically that's what I'm doing, is making a whole car. I'm trying to keep the videos short and interesting, and I know a lot of people watch them and don't subscribe, but I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. It'll help the channel and help me. I just wanted to make a short comment here. Don't really know what I want to say, except that I do appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate all the comments. If you want to see something, let me know. But a lot of this work, like I've got a heater setting over here that needs to be cleaned up and painted. Well, that could take a couple hours. I've got something else that needs to be fixed. I've just put in a fuel line. And so today what I'm going to do is route my fuel line, make some tabs for it, weld them onto the frame, and then I'm going to put the battery cable in, make some clips for it, weld those into the frame, and just sort of get the two things lined up here. Then I got to put in gas or dash gauges. I've got to wire the whole car, and a lot of this stuff you kind of got to put it in just to see where it's at, and then take it out and then do it right. So a lot of times you do 2 or 3 things, or do one thing 2 or 3 times just to get it in, and it's kind of hard to plan a video or plan anything really, because you just kind of fix a piece and then that lets you know what the next piece is going to be. A lot of guys give up on projects because they don't account for that. So you have to account for that when you're working on your project. You're going to have to do something 2 or 3 times, and sometimes you'll spend days making something, making it work, getting it fixed up, and then a week later or a month later, when you're working on something, it turns out that that steering box that you went to all the trouble putting in, everything else, you can't use it because of something else, so you junk all of it. So I'm trying to pass on a little bit of the knowledge that I have here on building these cars. I built enough of them, I know what needs to go into the car. So I apologize for maybe not very interesting videos, but a lot of this stuff is just not interesting. I'll try to show you stuff that is interesting. I'll try to keep it short, and I'll try to, I finally monetized the channel. Yeah, so far I made $3, Well, that's great, but I would like for it to be able to actually finance some of this stuff. I'm on Social Security. I don't really have any income, and so a lot of this stuff that I do, I have to just wait for the next month to get a paycheck, to get a fuel gauge, or to get a fuel pump, or whatever. A lot of this is done with very little money, and you can do it with very little money, but it takes time. It's starting to get cold out here in the shop. It's we started October already, and there will be some time and it's going to get good and cold, and I can't really heat this place, and it's not a lot of fun to work on it when it's cold. But anyway, guys, I appreciate it if you like, subscribe, refer a friend, make a comment. I really appreciate you coming back and watching, and I really appreciate it if you help support the channel. So, enough of my rambling. So like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and I'll try to get better content and a little more professional videos as I do this stuff. Alright, I've got this fuel line put in here. I've got it rubber insulated zip tied in real good into that frame. I want to put a panel across this whole thing here and seal off this passenger compartment from the trunk. I'll have to, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that, but I do know that I need to keep the wires on that side of that 1-inch bar. Now I've ran the battery cable up here. I've got the fuel line running up towards the front, so I'm going to have to make some clips for the fuel line so I can clip it onto the frame. I don't really have any place to tie it. So what I'm going to do is take a little piece of sheet metal and bend it around a bolt about the same size as that fuel line, and I'll weld 2 or 3 on here, and first thing we'll do is mount the fuel line. Alright, I happen to have a little piece of this, probably 18 gauge. It's not real thick, and it's about 1 inch wide, so I'm going to cut me off some pieces. First thing I'll do is make a little round clip here with a hammer and a bolt on a vise, and see how long it's going to be, and then I'll cut 2 or 3 of these out and I'll just weld them onto the frame. So let's get one of them made to start with. Well, here's another test of the superclean, their sponsors, and I'm going to be running a giveaway for a box of their products. I'll put this all in one video, but what I'm trying to do here, I've welded on a few brackets here on the frame. This has been rust converted, and I've also got a really greasy rear end. It's got a lot of dirt and stuff on it. I've scraped a lot of it off, but I'm gonna put this super clean on here, and hopefully it'll dissolve some of this heavy rust. I need to paint this, and I'm not really hoping for any super good results. Yeah, just get some of this grease and dust and stuff off of here, but I do need to paint this frame, so I'm just spraying the frame down real good. Because once I weld these pieces in here, that'll rust really quickly. So sorry for my light falling down, but it did. So once I've got these brackets cleaned up and welded down, like that one, the fuel line will go up into it, and I'm going to coat it with rubber. But it's going to be really hard to try to paint this stuff with the lines on the frame. So even though it's going to be wet, I won't have time to let it dry. I'm just going to clean it up and paint it, and then while this back part here's kind of drying, I'll go ahead and finish up the front up there. I need 1 or 2 more brackets there. I'll give this a little time to dry, and Then I'll put my rubber in it, and I've got these set so you know they're like an inch long. I just put the line on it, put a piece of rubber around here, and then just take a hammer and tap it. It'll bend over fine, and that should hold it. Well, anyway, we'll get some brush and some water in here and wash this down a little bit and get it painted. Well, there it is, all kind of painted up. This was not the ideal way or time to do it, but I got all these brackets. Get some more light on it. You can see it looks pretty good in there. Looks shiny. Of course, it'll flatten out. Haven't got the rear end. I'll show you that in a minute. But pretty much got all the big dirt out of it, and the frame looks good. Let me get out of here. Of course, I haven't got this outside of the frame since I'm painting. This is probably a really good time to do that. Instead of trying to blow anything anymore, I'll use a rag and wipe it down. But this actually looks pretty good. The main thing is I've got these brackets that I made. They're coated real good with paint all the way around. I put one more up there in front, and I'll put a fan under it. Now I'll paint this outside frame, and then I'll get over there to the rear end and do it. Well, there it's dried. Looks like that super clean took off a lot of heavy grease. You can see there's still quite a bit on it. I'm just too lazy to get in there and wire brush it, but did a real good job actually. And you can see the paint sticking to it. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this area up, and we'll bring you back when that's done. Well, that turned out pretty good. It paint sticking to it real good. I'm not at all trying to get this perfect. You can see the dust on it over there. I'm just trying to get this pumpkin painted up. It looks fine, and I tried to touch up what I could see in here. My paint's getting empty, but I need to go back over this again. I gotta get another can of paint. I gotta paint all this stuff in here blue. You can see where it quits over there. I got the back half done, but I need to paint this interior, but that wasn't the purpose of this. This was just to get these lines mounted, and it looks like it's pretty dry. I didn't get a lot of over brush marks or anything, so I'll just proceed on putting these lines in. Now we'll try it again. Cut all three pieces and put it on the pipe. Put it on the pipe good. Shove this one down. Close this one now. Yep. Keep that from moving. And then, let's see if we can turn it around here. Maybe we can see this one. I'm not sure what I'm pointing at. Get out of the way. Put the light in. So I've got the rubber in. And I'll just press that line down in here. Straight. Looks pretty good. Not solid, not touching anything. Yeah, that line's in real good and solid. Got rubber all the way around. And see if I can get you up into this front one. I don't know if that's gonna show or not. That one's clamped real good. And this one here's clamped real good. So is that one. And this one's a little ugly, but it's clamped good. The line is solid. Can't really move it. And looks like I got a little close to the frame right there. I just take a screwdriver or something, and you don't even need that. Just bend it out a little. I don't want the line touching anywhere. That's good enough. And it's really solid. So I think I'm just gonna wire tie my battery cable to that. We'll get my battery box put in and figure out where the battery goes. Alright, there's fuel and electron conductors. So I'll still be able to put my panel in there flush. The wires are behind it, and those clamps made that aluminum fuel line really solid. And that's as far as my wire goes. And this is gonna have to go right here. This is going to have to stick up through the floor. And it looks like that's going to be right about the middle of the seat. So if I put one thing on it, it'll be like that. But I need to put 2 bolts in it instead of just one. So I'll make like a Y-shaped bracket for this and weld it onto the cross member, and that way I can bolt my battery cable to it, and then I'll just take a wire straight up to the starter, and then I'll probably put another hot wire on it somewhere that'll go up here and go into the passenger compartment. So I'll have a little cleaner looking starter thing, and it'll be easy to run a heavy wire from here up into the passenger compartment without making something ugly. So I'll make me up a bracket and I'll weld that in and see what it looks like. Well, I sort of hit a snag here. I thought these starter bolts were the same as bell housing bolts, which is this here. They're smaller than a ½ inch. ½ inch is quite a bit bigger than that, but they fit in the hole, but they won't tighten. They're just a little bit bigger than that. So I got to looking, I dug through the whole shop and I found one. I've got it stuck in there. It's like 20 thousandths bigger than this one. I don't know what size they are offhand, but I looked on eBay and ARP apparently sells some kind of special bolts for it. One of them is a stud threaded on both ends. That's the one that goes in the top, and the other one's just a bolt. But they're grade 8. They're like 20 bucks. But anyway, I get those ordered, and I got my cuff switch in here. You can see there in the bottom of it, I had to open it up. For my taste, the power wire, I was going to run the battery on that side, but you know, if you stepped on this thing and bent it down, it would have touched that frame, and that would have been a dead battery short, and pretty much guarantee that you would have burned something up. So I ran the battery to the back one, so there's no chance of it touching anything, and I ground a hole out there to miss the battery terminal. And I got my wire here. It looks like I ordered about 3 foot too much of it. But that's the way it goes. I'll figure out how to get this in there and get it the right place and get it mounted. I'll probably put a couple of them tabs on it like I did over there for the fuel line. And I got 2 sets of ends, 3/8 and 7/16, I think. And the 3/8 fits on a starter good, and I'll put the 7/16 end on here. It should fit that big terminal. I just welded this plate on here, cut a hole out so to fit in it. This should be right at the level of the floorboard. And you can see with a ½ inch floorboard, it's going to come through. That's 3/4, it'll still come almost through. But, and it's right about the middle of the seat, so I don't think I'll have any trouble getting won't have any trouble with the location of this thing coming through the floor. At least it's not coming up under one of the runners or something. At least I hope it's not. I mean, worst comes to worst, I'd have to cut it. The problem is that that's all the cable I got. So the cable's dictating where the cutoff goes. So anyway, I'll order me up some bolts. I can get a couple volts in that starter. You know, I got that one there, and it's looks like it needs a bushing or something to fit into the starter to hold it right. But I can't do anything until I get my torque converter bolts anyway, except run electrical, and I'll get this cut up and the end soldered on it and get it mounted and press on. Well, there we go. Wiring's done. Got it all in. I didn't have any big ring terminals to fit this thing, so I took a nice big fat 10 gauge wire and made a circle in it and soldered it. But there's the keys on, and it pops right out. But there's my safety kill. Yeah, you could kind of get to it, you know. It's sort of under the seat. I didn't want to have it real obvious. But I got my nice fat wire running up there. That's all I had of that gauge. So probably the fuse block will be over here somewhere. And I'll run a wire from the starter. I'll just run it up that other wire, up the main battery cable, and bring it out here. It's probably kind of makes sense to have the fuse blocks over on this side, because that's where all of the stuff's coming out of the ignition. Only problem is kind of hard to see and work around in there. But I think I'll put the can't really put it on the side because of that vent. But I'm going to put it somewhere where I can get to it and see it real well, and I'm going to put a light over it. So I'll mount the fuse block here. That means most of my wires will probably go down this frame here. But everything looks good. And I found me a brand new filter. Didn't know I had that one. I ordered another one. But it won't hurt, doesn't have two on it. So I can I'll just put that filter right in there instead of trying to, maybe not, I'll just leave that, make it a little cleaner. Put that filter up front. I got the front done. I don't know how well we can see it. Yeah, we can see it. But good clamp on it right there. It's going under the motor mount and up here, and there's where the fuel pump goes, so shouldn't be any trouble to hook that up. A couple more of my little goodies came. Here's our blue spark plug wires, and I'll use one of my distributors I've got already there. I'm just going to paint the cap blue. And here's a good coil. I'll just mount it back here on the firewall someplace. But really all I need now is a carburetor. I got an AFB that I'm watching on eBay. I hope I get it. It's fairly cheap. It's less than $100, so I've got a good Holly over there. I don't particularly like Hollies. So anyway, We'll just press on now. The electrical's kind of started.